Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony Maya, and for my affirmative constructive argument, I will be claiming that smoking weed is unhealthy. Now, before the video starts and continues, I will be making it clear that I will specifically be talking about smoking weed and not other methods such as eating or drinking. Now, the reason I say that is because smoking in general is bad for your body, whether that being weed, tobacco, and like cigarettes and stuff like that. Smoking will always be a bad option. But as I go further, the reason why I say smoking weed is unhealthy is because smoking causes damage to an individual's health. Smoking can not only damage your lungs when you inhale all that smoke and chemicals. It can also attack your immune system, which causes mucus to build up, and it can also lead to other respiratory issues such as chronic cough, wheezing, acute bronchitis, and more. Now, your respiratory issues, your respiratory has to do with your lungs and your throat, how you breathe, and the chemicals I wanted to talk about that are bad for you. Our chemicals are released when you're smoking, and that is called carcinogens. Carcinogens are related to cancer-causing chemicals, which, from just saying that, is bad. And another thing I wanted to add it as to why smoking weed is bad is because smoking weed can also have negative impacts to an individual's bones. It can increase symptoms that make your bones weaker, and it will cause irreversible and permanent damage. One thing I wanted to add is that the CDC, which investigate the lung health, and according to them, smoking weed can cause scarring and damage to your small blood vessels. It causes damage to your lung tissues. And next thing I want to touch on is how smoking weed can also cause damage to your brain. It causes individual to become more dependent, and in other words, becomes addicted. Addictive is what I mean, that they become, once again, dependent on it. They can't say no, or it's affecting their life in a bad way. Now, one thing I want to add is a lot of people claim that marijuana can actually help reduce anxiety, depression, and other stuff like Alzheimer's, cancer. It can reduce that. Now, there isn't enough evidence to back that up. There has been cases where it has helped, but there's also been more cases where smoking weed can also increase the effects of anxiety, depression, and more. And this is because your body slowly becomes dependent on that. So when you're off of that, you have withdrawals. Now, withdrawals are symptoms you get once you stop using a drug. Withdrawals can vary from headaches, problems sleeping, problems eating. It also increases stuff such as irritability. You become more angry and you start to distance yourself much more. Another thing I want to add how it affects your brain is that it causes permanent damage, and it results in memory loss. And memory loss also lowers your IQ. It makes it harder to learn. And there's been evidence that smoking weed can also make you become less alert. And this is mainly because smoking weed in general has a chemical compound called THC. THC is responsible for that high feeling we get. And THC stands for, sorry I pronounced this wrong, it's called delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, which THC mimics our natural endocannabinoids, which are a natural chemical compound in our brains, which are released to make us feel happy. So for example, when you accomplish something, you get that rush of feeling joyful, excitement. That's endocannabinoids, which are responsible for making you feel that. Now, THC is released when smoking weed, and that mimics our brains to feel happy, which is why when you're off of that drug, you start to feel less happy, or you start to depend on it to become healthy and happy. Now, smoking weed is bad in general because it's smoking, but a lot of people don't realize that weed is still a drug. It can become addictive and it can affect individuals' life. It can affect your school, your work, and your social life. Not only that, and you start to become dependent on something that you shouldn't. You should be able to be happy on your own. You should be able to overcome challenges without having the use of drugs. So that's all for I have today.